Hello everyone, welcome to another video from Fantasy Football Scouts. This week I will be doing a series of team reveals from people who joined me last week, looking at some of the group previews and also a few extra faces as well, as everyone's starting to build their teams and think about which players to get. So Karam, you are my first guest this week. We've got some new fancy graphics which have been causing me a lot of stress this morning trying to get them done in time. So you have the honour of being the first person to see the new kind of style, but also you had to deal with my stress. Was that a worthy trade?
Yeah, I really loved it. I would just say that keep the other's head in the next time you do the videos. But overall, I love the thumbnails and well, much appreciate the efforts you did for making this happen. And good morning to everyone. I look forward to this video and see some potentially funny reactions to the team that I have now. But yeah, let's go with it.
Yeah, losing your head was the least of my issues, I think, this morning.
Yeah,
Talking about losing your head, though, here's your team on the screen.
yeah.
There's some very interesting picks in here. If anyone's watching live, interested to know what you think of Karam's team. I have a sense that everyone's team is going to be torn apart by people in the chat. A lot of teams are going to be torn apart
Yeah.
by me. I mean, this one in particular has got some real differential. I mean, there is a real template kind of forming, you know, with a lot of players I'm seeing across many different teams. You can hold your head up high and say you are not one of the template. You're not one of the templates. So straight away, before we even get into like the specifics of the team, what's your strategy for the tournament? Are you looking to play quite differently? Looks like you are.
Yeah, I mean, since the last time we did the video, I've been thinking about it, and the main thing that was in mind is basically this tournament is only 7 match days, so there is no enough time to build a long-term strategy. And with the chips that we have, we can have actually very quick turnarounds and use for these chips. Basically, if I really want to go and win it, then I don't really have to go with some of the very safe picks and basically target some of those players or defenses. If I start strong, like we will discuss the team, there are a few things that I really rely on. If I start good with it, then I will be up there by match day 3 or 2 potentially. If I'm out, then I'll just have fun. It's a fun game, and would be nice to play the fantasy game along with watching it. But it's really mainly about how to quick fire this tournament, this game, because it's only 7 match days. Something I did similar with the UEFA Champions League fantasy game. I did some things different, and I kicked off really nicely 5K by game week 2. I didn't improve much afterwards, but the idea was there. So yeah, there are a few things that I'm not certain of still, to be honest. One of them is the goalkeeper situation with the Kroll. I still don't have a concrete proof that he will start over Stekelenburg, but the idea is that I want a 4.5 goalkeeper. I can just go with a Turkish goalkeeper, for example. But yeah, the midfield is also something to discuss. But there are some areas where I'm almost certain, and we'll stick with it potentially. So yeah.
Okay, right. Well, let's go through it, because it is definitely one of the more interesting teams that I've seen. So let's start with your goalkeepers. So in goal, you've got the 4.0 starting goalkeeper Herediki versus Denmark, which is quite funny considering you've got all those Denmark defenders in there as well. And then Tim Krul on your bench. So you've gone ultra cheap in defence. So no Donnarumma, no Courtois, none of these guys. Is that just so you can put more money up front, more in the rest of your positions, basically?
Yeah, I thought the Hradicki at 4.0 is almost a no-brainer, although I don't expect the clean sheet there. But who knows, he might save a pen, who might get some save points. And instead, I still have another goalkeeper to put him in, which is the likely scenario. I'm fully prepared to put him out. So that's why I thought, okay, let's just start with Hradicki. Luckily that he will play first. And then whatever comes out, I can make a choice or a decision to decide and put him off to the bench.
Quite a few people in the chat saying to go for Backman, for the Austria
Backman,
goalkeeper.
yeah, he could be a great option for match day one as well. I'm still not sure. I haven't looked thoroughly through the Austrian defense, and from their pre-season matches, I didn't really see a lot from them to justify they will have a good tournament. I'm not so sure. That doesn't mean that the defense is from Finland. Well, the goalkeeper is 4.0. If he's 4.5, I wouldn't touch him basically. But because he's 4.0, a starting goalkeeper.
Well, I think Backman is 4.0. I think that's the point, right?
Is he? Is he?
I think so because people are telling you to take Backman. Is he 4? I mean, they're either advising swap out Krul or swap out Redicke for Backman.
Backman is 4.5.
He's 4.5. Yeah, okay, so it'd be Krul. Yeah. So it'd be Krul that came out. So probably. I mean, in terms of the 4.5 goalkeepers, it's really Kakir, the Turkish goalkeeper, or him, right?
Yeah.
So Herediki, I think, is the only 4.0 real. So yeah, sorry, I'm getting confused because I'm playing the fan team as well. There's quite a few other 4.0 goalkeepers in that. So like the likes of Dubravka's 4.0. So yeah, it's
I know Shonen,
playing two games
for example,
is getting my head of it.
Yeah, I know in fan team Shonen is 4.0, I think, but he's 5 in this game, so he's one of the options for fan team, not so for the for this
4.0
game.
In fact, trying to get my head around the different games. Yeah, okay, so still, even though he's 4.5, that seems to be the general consensus in the chat with your goalkeepers rather than because I mean we're still not completely sure, are we, who the starting Dutch goalkeeper is going to be? So at the moment, you think it's going to be Krul?
I think so. Stekelenburg, he played the last game. We won 3-0, and he kept a clean sheet. So it's absolutely 50-50, to be honest. But I'm still leaning towards going for a Krul. I think this one of the decisions that will remain until the last day. I don't know a lot of the in-the-nose Dutch accounts, for example, but the ones I know who used to be reliable in the transfer news, for example, or so, from the Dutch league, they say that it's probably Stekelenburg ahead. The idea here at the end is I'm blocking this spot for a 4.5. To be honest, when I saw the Ukraine's pre-Euro games, that's how I want to call it. I don't know how to call it, the friendly games. They are really a decent side, and probably I wouldn't go for a Dutch defense. Wijndal was one of those who were in my back line. And I took him out just because I feel that Ukraine are decent enough to score goals. And the Dutch national team were not really great defensively, neither before in the national league, neither now. So maybe they will have score games. Also, I'll be watching this game from the Johan Cruyff Arena. So it's an incentive to go attackers.
No way. That's pretty cool.
One of the players that he was in my draft and I took him out, he might come in when we touch on the defense. But generally speaking, I'm leaning towards having at least a couple of assets for that game just because I'm watching it. But I will need to do more of research to see what's the sales between Krul and Stekelenburg.
Yep. Right. Okay. Cool. So so straight away quite interesting in defence because they're two. I mean, to be fair, Heredicke is appearing in quite a few, but taking a risk on the Dutch goalkeeper, I've not seen too many people doing that, and especially not with Krul because I think a lot of people are going for Stekelenburg if they are. I think he got the number 1 jersey as well, didn't he, for the tournament? Stekelenburg. So could be a sign. Okay. So in defence, so we can cover 3 of your defenders off with one swift blow. 3 Danish defenders against Finland. I mean, triple defence is always risky, right? Denmark are a good side. They've got a good fixture. Talk me through that. What's your thinking there? I haven't seen any teams. I think I might have seen 1 or 2 with double Danish defence, but triple. Talk me through it.
It's probably that I never learn. So I remember last preseason FPL, Andy has done a similar video to this where I shared my team in game week 1 with a triple Liverpool.
Liverpool, I remember it well. Yep.
Yeah, and it looked like it's going well for the first couple of game weeks, but Salah was scoring, and then Van Dijk got injured, and the approach failed miserably by game week 7 or 8.
You cursed them for the whole season, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a message to everyone who playing the game: avoid the Danish defense. I'm on the trend. But basically, when you discuss the Finnish team in one of the videos, you mentioned that they have some lack of the attacking abilities to score goals, but at that time also Timo Pukki was not fully fit, if I did it correctly. And I watching the games, I didn't really see a lot from Finland to suggest that they can wipe up the clean sheet of Denmark. Denmark has one of the one of the best defenses in the qualifiers as well, right? Along with some teams like Italy and Belgium. So having these two in the equation, with the attacking potential that you can have from Melee, there was a short video of one of the friendlies where Melee just went through the defenses and he was almost going to score or give an assist. So he is one of the players that I really like owning anyway, regardless whether I go triple defense or double defense. He's gonna be there. Kerr is the captain, is a center back. He's nailed. He can have some threat from set pieces. Was is a right back who can also offer some attacking potential. So Finland is I didn't see them capable of scoring a lot of goals, but at the same time, they are not sort of a team who get thrashed and get beaten by 3-4-0. Jonas Wind was one of the options, but he did not even feature in the 2 games for Denmark in the last week or 10 days. So he's probably a no-go for me because Skov was playing on the right side, on the right wing, and Braithwaite either on the left or on the center forward with Paulsen potentially. So for some reason, I'm moving away from Wind. And in a game where I don't think that we'll score many goals, I also thought that, okay, there is no BBS in this game. So if I keep a clean sheet, that's almost a goal from sort of Eriksson, for example, or an assist.
Well, Eriksson's the one that you're missing that a lot of people are going for. He's 9 million in the UEFA game, so he's quite pricey. In fan team, he's 7, so he's a lot cheaper. And I think pretty much every team I've seen has got Eriksson in that, but less so in UEFA. I still think Eriksson is a great pick.
He is, yeah.
And looking at your midfield, he could...
Shambolic. We'll discuss that in a minute,
Yeah. I mean, Eriksson, obviously with the triple Danish defence, you're probably not going to go... You obviously... Well, you probably are considering Eriksson, but if you're going to stick with a triple defence, then that's kind of that, right? So let's just touch on the... I mean, you've got Denayer there, the Belgian... The Belgian player. I mean, he's really cheap, right? And I think he's, it's a bit sad. He's one of your only template picks that I see, but he's a very sensible template pick, isn't he?
Yeah, and he played the last 2 games for Belgium ahead of Vermaelen, so it looks like that he's gonna be ahead, and he will play along with Alderweireld and Vertonghen. And for 4.5, he is worth a go. I still have some doubts that Russia might be able to score goals as well. Russia have decent attacking side, and there is a chance that they can score goals. But if I say pull out the triple clean sheet and Denayer concedes, then I can move him on to the sub for one of the midfielders. So that was the strategy behind it. It's basically, okay, if those 4 that's currently in the 11 get clean sheets, then I'm done probably with the defense. So there is no space for Pau Torres, or I will struggle to fit in one of the bench players if the attackers score. So it's a kind of a gamble where I wouldn't bother too much if Belgium concede, because I still have 3 more picks to put in. But looking at the midfield, when we come to it, I think some changes will be needed. Pau Torres, as you discussed with Andy a couple of days ago, is almost a no-brainer.
Yeah,
4.5. Yeah, 4.5. Even if he plays Sweden, who are a good side, but they did not score a lot of goals in their good games in the friendlies. So Spain has the capability to pull out a clean sheet. They did against Portugal, although I I found the game boring. Sorry for that. Almost
It
like,
was.
I don't know, two shots on target in the whole game.
Yep.
No, not at all. But it also means that from a tactical perspective, maybe in these big games, Spain will be more cautious playing. There is a situation currently with them, with Sergio Busquets testing positive for COVID, and the whole team is in quarantine. So
just what you need
I
going
don't
into
expect,
a major international tournament, isn't it? Something like that to
yeah,
happen.
no, no. But I think if they test negative, they can go out again and train. That's how I anticipate it. But I will keep an eye on what's going to happen with the Spanish camp, because if for somehow get distracted, I have already 3 players from Spain, which is a lot. So I might reassess that. On defense, lastly on defense, I think there are a couple of options I really miss and I really want to have for match day 1. One of them is Ricardo Rodriguez of Switzerland.
Yep. On penalties.
He is on penalties, 5.5, not so cheap, but Wales did not score goals in the last 2 games they played in. So I really fancy them to keep a clean sheet. And Rodriguez has the capability of assisting, scoring, and on penalties. So for 5.5, I think he's justifiable. And another one, which I am mostly excited about because I'm going to watch that game, the Netherlands against Ukraine, is the out-of-position defender, Zinchenko. Now, the story with Zinchenko is not only he's out of position, but yesterday he scored a penalty. Now, that's an interesting one because I didn't watch the highlights. He scored a penalty of 2-0, but the first goal for Ukraine was also a penalty scored by Yarmolenko. And both of them were on the pitch when the 2 penalties occur. So what I'm anticipating is that both of them have won their own penalty. But I don't know, maybe someone in the chat who watched the Ukraine game can tell us. But it seems like if you win it, you take it. That's how I expect it to be. And if so, he's an attacking midfielder in the Ukrainian team, and so he's gonna be almost a no-brainer for me if he will be on the penalty duties if he wins it. Also, he can offer a lot for that attack. And Ukraine are actually a very decent side in the qualifiers, in the friendlies. They have proved that they're gonna be a strong competitors in this, and they might go far in this.
I really like the Ukraine. I wrote an article for Scout on them, and you get a bit of bias when you start writing articles for sides. You start to learn about the players, you start to quite like them. Malinovsky, for example, is a player that I really like the look of. Zinchenko, though, is becoming more and more of the standout player to me in that side. I mean, you're talking about an out of position classified defender in the game. I think he's 5.5, but it's the kind of pick where us as people who are quite engaged with fantasy football and know these kind of things, he's the kind of player that could really get us ahead, because I think a lot of people won't realise just how different his position is. They think Zinchenko, left back for Man City,
is a defender one.
Yeah. And then you watch him play for the Ukraine, and his role is to make runs into the box. He's a box-to-box midfielder, essentially.
Yeah.
So he's so dangerous, when he plays for them, and he's their kind of most recognised, most decorated player. Obviously, won titles with Man City. So I think he's still quite young, but there's more kind of onus on him to do more for the national team and to take them forward. And they've got a really good team. Yeah. So yeah, I think he's a really solid pick. I think it just depends on whether you want to spend that much money in defence, because you've got the likes of Denayer, Pau Torres. Around there, but I think at 5.5, I think he's one of the strongest options, which is surprising when you think he's a kind of Ukrainian defender and you could get other picks. So yeah, really like Zinchenko. I think
he does, and
I was going to say he'll probably end up in my team. I think Zinchenko will.
Yeah, I think he's a great option anyway for match day 2 for those who are on limitless against North Macedonia. It's a question whether it will be so popular if he does anything in match day 1. Yes. Or he will be popular anyway, but I'm curious to see how the ownership will be for him in match day 2 if he does well against
what we'd like
Dutch
is a really good performance against Netherlands, really attacking, hits the post 3 times, no attacking returns, and then goes into North Macedonia without getting the ownership up. So yeah, I mean that could happen. That could happen. I don't think there's going to be loads of goals in that Netherlands-Ukraine game. I think it's going to be. I think the Netherlands will win it 1-0 or something, maybe 2-1, something like that. I do still fancy them to win, but I think the Ukraine will put up a good fight. Okay, let's move into midfield then. So midfield, you mentioned earlier, you winced, I think, when I mentioned it. So you've got Mason Mount, you've got Zielinski from Poland, and you've got Olmo of Spain. So you've gone very cheap in midfield, right? So Olmo and Mount are both 7. Zielinski is 6.
7 as well.
They're all okay. 3 7 midfielders.
As well.
I need to get my head around these prices. I keep because he's 5 on the fan team. He's really, really cheap. So
wow.
Yeah, so all 7 midfielders there. So you haven't gone for like a premium pick. In fact, your team is more balanced than a lot of teams that I've seen. In terms of you haven't gone kind of 3 of the most attacking forwards up front. No Kane, no Lewandowski, no Ronaldo, for example. You've got Diogo Jota there as well on the bench with his game against Hungary, who obviously, it always looks weird when I see that on the bench. And I think, oh, Karam doesn't know what he's doing. What's he doing benching Jota? But of course, you could bring him in for a player. And like you mentioned, you could bring him in for a defender as well if they lose the clean sheet. So talk me through the midfield. You've gone cheap. Jota's your most expensive option there. Just don't see the value in midfield?
Well, the thing is, one of the criteria I consider is about the captaincy and which players I'm going to captain in each match day. And most of them will be Immobile, Depay, Lukaku, those sort of players, maybe Jota in the final day of the match day. So I didn't want to spend a lot in players who might not get a huge result and they will end up subbed off. And I must admit that I found myself picking the midfield with a budget that is left because I really wanted those players in defense and I wanted those players in attack. So whatever whatever budget left, it was the way to build that midfield. Now, speaking each of them, there are players that I don't really like, but I still have their prices locked in that spot. So, for example, Zielinski, he's probably the most standout midfielder in the Polish team against Slovakia, which I think it's a good game for them. I see one of the comments in the chat from one of the Polish fans. He's saying that Zielinski is a bad pick. I wonder if he is, and who else will be a good pick? Because I think Slovakia is a good
I don't really see
really.
why he's a bad pick. He's got a good first game. He's got the world's best striker, or the most informed striker this season playing up front of him, and he's kind of the chief creator for the side, to my knowledge. So I don't agree with that. I don't think Zielinski is a bad pick. I've got him in my team currently. Obviously Lewandowski is the standout option, but he's a hell of a lot of money. And I think if you want to try and tap into fixtures, the Slovakia game is one of the best looking games on paper. So I like him. I think he's a good pick.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there are a few options I still consider in midfield. One of them is Berardi of Italy. Now, we've been all on the Chiesa train before the friendlies start, but for both games he came on as a sub. And Berardi proved himself as a good player for the 11, and he scored in the last game. So at 6 million, he might be, because I still think that I might go for a 5.5 defender like Zinchenko or Ricardo Rodriguez, and therefore I have to take out $1 million from somewhere else because that team is with 0.0. So one of Zielinski or Mount, which I'm not fully convinced on Mount because
Mount. Yeah, I was going to ask about Mount. Mount. I think out of your whole team, to me, Mount is the weakest pick. I really like Mason Mount, and I don't want to knock him. I'm only knocking him from a kind of fantasy perspective. I mean, there was a stat posted saying that he created one of the most chances in Europe for teammates, and they struggled to finish. Like he was like levels with like Messi in terms of chances created. But I can't get it out of my head that Mount is a kind of a steady tick along player. He's not a player who I think is going to get you big returns. He might get you an assist one game. He might get a goal the next game. So, and I think that is actually quite well suited to something like the Premier League game where it's over 38 weeks and he's going to play most games. Yeah. I'm not convinced in a kind of a 7-week tournament that Mount is really going to be one of the heavy hitting players in the game. His price is okay. Tough first game against Croatia. Yeah. I'm not too sure.
And I think the role he plays in England is a little bit different from a Chelsea. You can correct me, but I think in a 3-4-2-1 system or 3-4-3 with the two wingers like Foden, Grealish, Sterling, and Kane up top, Mount might be someone who plays in midfield a bit deeper.
Yeah, well, I think he'll have
And
to. I think he'll have to.
yeah, so basically, we know him from FPL. He's not a guy who is very reliable in getting the double digits. And in a short tournament like this, the whole strategy I'm building on is to look for someone who can explode and give me high points and then run away with it. So yeah, there is a question mark on him. But he's very highly on. That's the thing that one of the few picks that I picked that he's almost 32% on. And if he says deliver in the first game, then I'll be well behind. And it's sort of like, okay, this pick at 7 million, he's kind of a cover, but I don't know if he's a correct cover. That's another story then. Berardi is another option. But I felt that a double Italy attack is a bit of an overkill, especially I'm going to captain Immobile in the first day. Of course, it doesn't matter if I have to change at the end. But do I fancy Italy to score a lot of goals against Turkey? Maybe, maybe not. So I'm not still sure. On individual, I like Berardi at 6 million, and he offers extra funds to do something else. But would I go for double attack? That's another question.
And the good thing about that, like Zaid Ali says in the chat, is because Italy's the first game, you get the team sheet coming out. So we're gonna know who's gonna start out of Chiesa, Berardi. Insigne's going to play Immobile. We're going to know, and it's the same with like Spinazzola as well. Lots of people are going for him in defence, but there's a bit of concern whether he's going to start. You just got to keep your eye on the team news when you're making your team, and then if they're not, you can just take them out. So I think it's a good idea for anyone who's considering Italy players to have a kind of a quick way out, because you can check their lineups and then be like, "Oh, quick, I'll change to someone else." But if you don't know who you would change to, then you could be really panicking come the deadline. So
good to know that the deadline is at the kickoff time, not the 1 hour or 90 minutes. So you still have the time to see the team sheet and swap things out. The double attack of the Spanish side is kind of a differential way to go. It really relies. I've owned Dani Olmo in the Bundesliga game. It's a very different system, but what I know that Olmo is capable of delivering a lot of shots during the match. And he scored some goals for the Bundesliga, so he was really a good pick in that game. And having a lot of high volumes of shots means that they have more chance to score goals. Now, the thing with Olmo that I think he's prone to be subbed off the first one if things are not going well. So by 65, 70 minutes, he might be subbed off for another one. So that's a bit of a worry. But still at 7 million, I think he's really a good pick. And he is, if you want to list the best 7 million picks, I would say that Olmo is going to be really up there with those ones if you look at 7 million midfielder. Now Ferran Torres is the better pick in my opinion. He is very good with the Spanish team. I like the way he plays on the wings. I think he's the main threat, along with Alvaro Morata, indeed. So I think Torres is a pretty much a lock in my team. And finally, Diogo Jota. I felt that I need a cover from Portugal. Ronaldo has blanked in 7 of the last 9 matches for the national team, and the thing that might needs to be worry about, was looking for the word, is that basically the Hungary-Portugal game is in Hungary, in Budapest, so it's gonna be at home for them. So I don't know whether that will be an extra motivation for the Hungary team to make the game much harder. But at 8.5, I feel that I need, with this sort of midfield, I feel that I need a captaincy cover if things really go wrong with every player I picked so far, like a Lukaku or Immobile or Depay. Then Jota might be the last chance to get something out of the captaincy. So I like the fact that I have players at the very late of the match day Because if I run out of the picks and they blank early in the match day, then it will be a hard time to wait for the end of it and see, is Jota gonna be delivering or not? And I think in a 4-3-3 he would be starting with Ronaldo and in a front three. So I really like him at 8.5. Interesting that the midfield is not very cheap, but there is no premiums in it. So I have 3 players of 7 million, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 8 million, 1 8.5. So I think the system itself is okay, and it allows me to not really regret. I'm gonna sub a 10 million player out, but I think I can improve that with some picks like Berardi, some other players. I think Mount is gonna leave the team, but it's one of the most uncertain areas in my team so far. So
you are a braver man than I for not going with Ronaldo against Hungary.
I didn't really consider him. I didn't really fancy him at all.
I like what you were saying about the first game being in Hungary. Not really something that I'd thought about. I kind of forget about this, the fact that a lot of teams are going to be playing at home and stuff. And you've got to think about things like travel times as well. I think Switzerland, for example, travel the most in the whole tournament. So after the first game, that might be a time to start targeting their players, just because they're going to be knackered. They're traveling, hours and hours and hours across Europe. So yeah, that is really interesting, and that's where that kind of like extra level of analysis can really kind of help you in a way to prepare. But Ronaldo against Hungary, you must be a little bit worried. I know you said you haven't considered it, but you talk about Mount like maybe harming your rank. I wouldn't be too worried about Mount. I would be worried about Cristiano Ronaldo banging in a hat-trick as the most captain player in the game.
Yeah, probably all right. Well, the question would be who from the front three I should drop for Ronaldo.
It's fairly obvious which of the front three you should drop for Ronaldo, right? You're not going to. We'll go through. I don't think we need to spend too much time on Lukaku and Depay. Lukaku is my favourite for the Golden Boot in the tournament, with or without De Bruyne. Good looking group. They'll go far, I think, across the whole tournament. Depay is everything to the Netherlands at the moment.
He's a main man.
He's a main man. He's talisman. He's on everything. He's a forward in this. He's a midfielder in fan team, and he gets rewarded for shooting, and he's an absolute no-brainer in that game. But in this game as well, I think he's a great pick. But you've gone for Immobile up front, who I don't think I've seen in any teams. I think everyone is going for players like Chiesa, Spinazzola, Berardi, Insigne, all these guys. You've gone for Immobile up front, obviously handed him the captaincy because he's got that first fixture.
Yeah.
Talk to me about him. Sell him to me.
He is probably the safest player in terms of playing time, and he's probably the best player from the Italy attack. He did very well in the friendly games. He scored 2 goals and assisted 1, I think, in the last game in the 4-0 win for Italy. And he is on penalties, and he is a very good finisher, knowing him from the Serie A. Now, everything is going on with Italian picks in midfield. It seems to be really prone to rotation. Everyone, pretty much. Chiesa, Barella, Berardi, those players might swap positions out and get subbed off or subbed on during the game. If you really look for someone different from midfield, it's probably going to be Insigne. But I totally agree with what Andy said in the last video, that Insigne seems to be a guy who never did it for Italy. And I clearly saw that in the previous tournaments in World Cup or in the previous Euros. So Insigne could be at 8.5, could be a good way to go different. And he's only owned by 4%.
How much is Immobile up front?
10. He's at 10 million.
So he's a proper premium forward. Then.
Yeah. He is considered as a premium. I agree. He's only owned by 8% as well, which I don't think it's a lot. He gives me also a first attempt for the captaincy on the first match day. So I like this one. In a fantasy Bundesliga, there were always matches on a Friday night and the rest of the matches on Saturday and Sunday. I always make sure they have a captaincy on a Friday night, whatever that game is. It's even if they're in relegation side, because there is a lot of potential in that game. And I might have a nice weekend if Immobile gets a brace, and so in terms of captaincy, and focus on subbing on and off the players from the other page. So that's a big advantage from Immobile, and I think he's capable of delivering well in the first game.
Sorry, Karam.
No, that's what I want to say. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say my biggest issue with it is that he's got Turkey in the first game. Turkey are quite a low-ranked side of the tournament, but aren't a pushover. They don't concede many goals. They had the joint least goals conceded in the first match. Italy, I still don't know if Italy are a team that are going to score lots of goals in this tournament. I think they are a team that can keep it tight and can frustrate, and they've obviously got quality players, but I do wonder about them really scoring lots and lots of goals. My biggest issue with Immobile is the fact that I'm looking at that front line and I don't see an easy way for you to get Kane. And when Kane's got Scotland and the Czech Republic, surely that's got to be a worry.
Yes.
Ronaldo, however, you can get away with, I think, after the first game, but Kane.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Kane is. I sort of have a way to get Kane in because I'm going to limitless in game week 2 and wild card in game week 3.
Oh, okay. So, I was going to ask you about your strategy.
So yeah, So part of the strategy I mentioned the last time, I might build a team for game week 1 and 3, but I actually feel like there is a little more options to give yourself a stronger start by having more variety of players in the first 3 match days. And therefore, if I play now game week 1 and limitless in 2 and wildcard in 3, and then I have unlimited transfers anyway in the round 16, then we might have a clear idea who's going to be in round 16. And I have a feeling that it's going to be more obvious picks on which teams might qualify. So I feel I will be all right with managing the rest of the tournament with the free transfers during the knockout stages. And therefore, I feel there is a big upside and a chance to have a strong, really start if I follow this strategy. And so if I need Kane in limitless 2, I can get him in. If I wild card, I will get him in match day 3. So there will be no issues with that. So having 4 distinct teams in 4 match days is something really enticing, basically.
Yep.
And I like the way that I build a team for 1 game week. Just don't think about the rest of the tournament. And start from game week 4, you can build a team for 4 match days, predicting which teams will qualify. That's something also will need to be considered when building the team. You don't want to build a team who get knocked out and you have 3 or 4 players from them, and you will spend the transfers just take them out. So it's going to be a bit tricky, but I feel that the upside from having a lot of points in the match day 1, 2, and 3 will be higher.
Yep. Karam, amazing. Good luck in the tournament. It's nice to start with a team that's different to the ones that I've been seeing so often on the Scout and on Twitter. So hopefully this might have given people some ideas. It might have make people move over to the Denmark defence. Or
I look forward to the Pookie running the party.
In the second minute.
He will do me a huge favor. I will just close the game, and that's pure. I would close the fantasy game and just have a pure watch if he ruins it. But we'll see.
We'll see. Yep. Karam, thanks so much, and I will speak to you soon.
Yeah, cheers, Az. Have a good day, everyone.
You too. Oh, so just before we go, if you like these series, like and subscribe to obviously the YouTube channel. If you head over to Scout as well, we're nearly finished now with all the articles for the different teams. As well, so there's loads of in-depth analysis on things. You can read my analysis of the Ukraine. I think I've got one on Sweden coming out soon as well, and then David and Neil are working like mad and lots of other contributors to get those out. Also, the new graphics. If you like the new graphic, let me know. It's had a bit of a refresh. It's not too different, but a couple of new colours and stuff. So if you like that, let me know. And I will be back later on with my second guest, who is Mr. Luke, aka D1 Sable, who wasn't going to play the Euros, Karam, but has now been convinced. So we'll see what he's put together. I'm sure he's gone pretty different as well.